This is Dates and Mates with your host, Damona Hoffman.
Hello, lovers. Welcome to Dates and Mates. I'm so excited that you are joining us here today to talk about love in the modern world. We have a super, super hot show for you today. We're broadcasting live here from Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood and live streaming on Facebook. Hello, fans. Thanks for being here. And we are going to be talking about how to spice things up. We have the founder of Glamorerotica101.com, Tayomi. She's a sexpert, and she's Glamazon Tayomi, and her husband is also joining us, and he is the author of a book on romance as well. So we'll be talking about the hot sexiness, but we'll also be talking about the romance and how to the whole package, like how to really bond with your partner or find a partner that you can bond with. And of course, we have headlines today, including a team of moms who are helping dating app users find love. This is just it's too crazy. We couldn't make it up. We'll be talking about picking a partner based on voice, really important for you singletons. And also, we'll discuss how posture affects your results on dating apps. I love this data. You know I love data.
I know.
But this one's really important. I'm all about the stats. And then we'll throw in a little bit of spice. You know, Donald Trump Jr. and Vanessa Trump broke up. But do you know who she used to date? We're going to tell you in just a moment. Plus, we have your questions in Technically Dating, including, is it weird to have sex with your pet in the room? And we'll ask, what do you do if you find out your fling has a girlfriend? Producer Thomas, it's going to be a hot one. Are you ready to dish?
Yes.
Dee's Dating Dish.
There's a new dating app called Inner Circle, and it allows users to get advice from a support team that consists of moms. You know, moms love butting into other people's love advice and in romantic lives. So why not just capitalize on that and get your inner circle of 6 Amsterdam-based women who are all partnered women who they say have conquered the dating game. So to get into this dating game in the inner circle, you have to be vetted and approved by them. Like mom has to approve by
they have high
you.
standards, so that's got to be the most pristine users.
Yeah, you submit your social media platforms, and then the moms, swipe through, and they're like, I don't know, would I let you date my son or daughter?
Yeah.
I guess so. But then the great part about this is they don't just choose you for the app. They console you after a breakup. They'll give you suggestions on how to get more messages and better replies. What do you think about this, Producer Thomas? Could this be the new wave of dating apps and bringing that personal touch?
Yeah, I think that maybe we're going to start seeing kind of stuff like this where like a certain group of people like give you more live advice kind of in the future. I think it's kind of funny that like this group of moms is kind of what's taken off because I feel like some people are a little wary of letting their mom control their dating life essentially. But
someone else's mom would be perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how it can really sustain because if they get really busy, you need more moms, I guess.
That's true.
But I guess there's a lot of moms that are looking for things to do and can't meddle in their own kids' lives. Right. So why not meddle in someone else's? I think that's pretty fun. Well, one factor that we don't talk a lot about in dating today, but I think is really important, is your voice.
Yes.
Can you hear the sound of my voice right now?
The dulcet tones.
Well, I've actually been doing a little bit of study on voice recently, and I've always thought that it was important to do the phone call before the date. We've talked about this before. If you're moving from online dating app to IRL, you need to have that phone call in between. Why? Some of it is double checking to make sure that the things the person said in the profile are actually lined up with what they can talk about in real life and make sure it's not a fake. But it's also something about finding that person's voice attractive. And there is something chemical in the exchange between your vocal tones and communicating in that way. So why not just start an app? If that's what love is all about, start a new app. So there's a new app called Waving, which has you swipe left or right, but it's not based on how people look. It's not based on what habits they have or activities they enjoy. It's based on their vocal tone. It's based on a voice message. And we've all known this. And as a deeper voiced woman, I sort of resent this, but in general, men with deeper voices and women with higher voices are typically found more attractive. But here's the thing. They're not just throwing you to the wolves with this. They're letting you know also how you can attract. And I do talk about this a little bit in my flirting coaching, that when you vary the tone of your voice, it's more interesting. When you're interested in something, you don't usually talk about it like this, do you? You talk about it with a lot of passion and variety in your voice. And I also talk to women about ending your sentences up. And that sounds like you are inviting possibility,
right.
as opposed to down, and you are shutting it down. So I think this is something really interesting. I don't know that it's really its own app, but I find it interesting as a feature of another app, and I'm hoping that maybe one of our app friends might.
Right. It does seem like kind of an add-on or like an auxiliary download to a dating app. It just seems, But hey, if they're doing it, more power to them.
And they say people are skeptical that singles will go on dates with people without seeing a picture. I mean, I think at some point you'll exchange the pictures. Yeah. But here's the thing, because remember, I've been online dating since the Middle Ages. And back when we used to
dial up in the
we chiseled a tablet and we'd say, this is roughly what I look like. You know, if your Flint slips, then no, I'm kidding.
Send it by merchant caravan.
Oh, you went way back.
Yeah, well,
you went way back. No, but what we did back in 2001 to 2003, 4. That's when I was online as myself, not dating, not working with clients. But back then, a lot of times we didn't have pictures. I didn't have a photo on my main profile for many years. It was not, in fact, I met my husband right when I had finally decided to put the photo out. But back then, we really did read profiles and become interested in the character of the person. And then you would say, can I have a pic?
Right.
So let's not act like it just absolutely can't work. And I think there's something charming in people wanting to roll back to the old days of how we used to do things. Everybody's saying to me, I want romance to come back. I want to be courted. And using apps like this or going back to some of the more traditional ways of finding a mate could be the way to get there.
Yeah.
Okay. As we're on a dating app roll, I thought I would give some data to you because the independent.co.uk, they reported on your posture having an effect on your ability to attract someone.
Yeah. I have terrible posture, so
think about this. You do? No, you're doing okay.
No, my shoulders are always slouched over.
Just do some yoga. You'll be straight. Just like get your shoulders back. Yeah. Yep. You gotta just. I do bands too. There's ways you can change your posture. You don't. But you look okay here.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you seem to be doing okay anyway. Yeah. You have a girlfriend, so your posture must have been good enough.
Good enough at one point or another.
At one point to attract her, but. Keep this in mind with dating apps because they notice that the way that you present your body, not just your posture if you're hunched over. I mean, don't be hunched over, but also if you have more open body language, that can attract more people to you. And the interesting thing, I went real deep on this study, producer Thomas, and the really interesting thing is that it's universal across gender. Like if your legs are spread a little bit,
I actually
taking up more space.
Yeah, I remember I was at a summer camp once, and all the guys were talking about like, oh, what girls we like, and one of the camp counselors was like, yeah, it's all you have to like be like, you can tell if like she's more into you if she's like not like all closed off and her legs are crossed and her arms are crossed. Like, and I was like, that's interesting. It was a formative memory.
It's true though. It's true, and people don't even realize this. And I like to read people's body language when I go into, a bar, a restaurant, anywhere. I'm watching what people are doing, and you can see what's happening, even if you can't hear the conversation.
You can tell.
I love
if it's going
observing
well or not.
first dates. And you can tell because if she's listening and she's she's crossing her arms or her hand is on her face or she's like blocking herself off, it's very obvious that she's not interested in that guy. So keep that in mind when you're creating a profile. And look, I don't look at any of it as trickery. I look at it, if you are consciously cultivating your profile or speaking in a way that when we're talking about the voice, like speaking in a way intentionally that sounds more positive and upbeat, you're not faking it. You are marketing yourself in the right way to attract what you're looking for. So it seems like it should go without saying. Yeah. Don't be closed off on your dating profile. But I guess we have to say it. So now we've said it. And don't be afraid to take up space. I'm always saying this to the ladies too. I'm like, don't be afraid to step into your power and take up space. I don't think guys are intimidated by that. If you looks like you're having fun and you're outgoing and upbeat, you're someone that they would want to spend time with, right? Well, somebody's not going to be spending too much time with Donald Trump Jr. anymore. We're sorry to hear that Vanessa Trump
Are we sorry to hear?
Is, I don't know. And Vanessa Hayden, that was her maiden name, have broken up. But I thought this was really interesting that that's not the only famous person that she's dated. She was a model, of course. So I wonder which celebrity she might have dated. Who is it that always seems to go for tall, blonde model types? If only there was an actor that we knew that we talked about recently that maybe, you got it. It's Leo DiCaprio. And even though Leo's publicist denied that they were dating at the time, there are definitely pictures and reports of them together at the premiere party for Titanic. She went way back.
Blast from the past.
Way back. So we wish her luck. I don't. Is Leo's available now, right? Well, sort of, right? No?
Yeah, no, I think he's still a bachelor.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they can
rekindle.
Maybe they can rekindle along with Brad and Jen. I'm still rooting for that one.
I think Jen's happy. I think she is. That ship has sailed.
I give her 6 months of singlehood.
Wow, all right.
She's never been single.
That's true. She seems amped about it now, though, as we've reported on. But maybe she'll come back.
Yeah, that's just what you say.
Yeah,
You're
right,
like, I'm single, I'm happy, but then like within 6
forward.
months, she's going to be locked down. All right, well, you're not locked down, but we do want you to keep it locked here on Dates and Mates because we have 2 sexperts who are joining us, Tayomi. I put their names together, and that's what you get. No, Tayomi Morgan Najib, and she's also known as Glamazon Tayomi, and her husband, Naeem Najib. They're going to be joining us to talk about ways to spice it up and keep the romance alive. Right after this, you're listening to Dates and Mates, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Dates and Mates. I'm your host, Damona Hoffman, here to talk about love in the modern world. But I'm not doing it alone. I am here with my very special guests. Not one, not two. Make it twice as nice with my guest, Tayomi Morgan Najib, who's also known as Glamazon Tayomi, and her husband, Naeem Najib. Let me tell you a little bit about these two. Glamazon Tayomi, as she's called, is an international pleasure coach who runs the sex blog Glamoratica 101. It's very hot, y'all. And she aims to represent people of color within mainstream sexuality. She's also served as the resident sexpert for Ebony and Black Doctor, and she's written for so many publications from Huffington Post to Vice, and she's also hosted her own radio show on Playboy Radio. Meanwhile, Naeem is no slouch himself. He is a love educator and entrepreneur as well. He's the author of the book Love Is Not a Game, a manual for loving relationships, and his purpose is to offer another way of looking at relationships. Please give big smooches to Tayomi and Naeem.
Thank you so much for having us, Damona. We're so happy to be here today.
I'm so happy that you are here, and you guys couldn't see, everybody couldn't see it during the break, but they're living their truth, making out during the break, like
cuddling.
You can
nice.
see the passion between the two of you, and I think it's really beautiful. And this passion, you have your own love story that's sort of inspired you and inspired Naeem to begin this journey with Love Is Not a Game, a manual for loving relationships. So just give us a little bit of a sense of your love story and how you met and connected, and some of the things that the people listening can learn about building a romantic relationship from reading your book.
So do you want to start that?
Yes, we'll start with Naeem.
Oh, you start with me. Okay. Well, I'm going to say again, thank you for having us. And for all those listening, yes, I'm Naeem Najib and wrote the book Love Is Not a Game, a manual for loving relationships. And this book is not just a book you read, it's a book you do. You practice it. It's a tool for all relationships, not just romantic relationships. So it can be applied to romantic relationships. And that's why when I first met my wife, I had the book. I was writing my second book on communication, and I handed her the book because we were talking and riding the train together, and she looked at it and she was like, I need this book. So she can tell you more about our story. But for the listeners out there who want to add another tool to your relationship toolkit, this book is a must-have, and it will give you another way of seeing love and relationships.
Yeah, that's great. So you're riding the train, Tayomi, and you see this guy in this book. Tell us more about your love story and how this partnership came to be.
So I was actually flying back to Chicago. That's where I'm from originally. And I was in New York just to go to a concert. And I had just broken something off with someone I was seeing on and off for about 4 years in New York. And I stayed up the whole night because I was in distress. And I was talking to God. I said, I just don't want to be in these ego-driven relationships anymore. I want to understand love for what it truly is. And then a few hours later, on a Spirit Airlines flight of all airlines, this guy, he's staring at me from a few seats in front of me. And I didn't want to be bothered. I honestly didn't. I had an attitude. I was hangry.
They didn't give you any food on Spirit. I know. I've been there.
No, they don't. And it was really early in the morning, like a 6 a.m. flight. So I hadn't slept. I was hangry, and I just didn't want to be bothered. But he kept staring at me, and I felt him burning a hole through my afro. And so I finally looked up, and then I see this beautiful man. And I was like, oh, okay. So my attitude changed. And he said, oh, I like your hair. And I said, oh, thanks. And then that was it. So when we landed in Chicago, and I finally woke up and came to, I saw him looking around the plane, and he said, hey, do you know how to get to the Blue Line train? And it just so happened I was riding that train into downtown. And instead of telling him how to get there, I said, yeah, I'm actually going that way myself. We can ride together. And so when we got on the train and he introduced the book to me, I was floored because I'm like, I just talked to God about this last night, and you're telling me that you're giving me everything that I just asked for in a book form? And then he offered the book for free. He didn't ask for my phone number. He asked for my email address to send me a free copy of the book. And he fed me grapes. I think it was really just the food, honestly, that got me because I was starving.
It was really a food.
But at some point you have to cross over from, like, that could have been a business transaction, but you had to let her know that you were interested in more than just having her read the book. Right.
Well, you know what? That happened when he followed up with me with an email. He said, I don't believe in chance encounters. I believe we've been sent to each other to assist each other with our healing. And I'm like, this man, where did he come from? And
Spirit Airlines.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what it is.
Spirit
Hallelujah.
Airlines, right? So one thing led to another, and we started reading the book together. And one of the first things that we did was set a purpose for our relationship. And I have never had anyone suggest anything like that or even say that something like that was necessary. And we actually wrote it down. We are going to be rewriting it and putting it in frames, but this is the same purpose that we set when we started reading the book. When was it? April?
Yeah, in April.
Yep, April last year.
That's
Second
so
week in
important.
April.
Congratulations. That is so important to know what you're looking for, and when you're beginning a partnership, to really start it off on the right foot, being on the same page. And I hear from so many people that say, well, I want a serious relationship, but I don't want to come on too strong. I'm afraid to tell him what I really want. And you put it on paper, like right there from the beginning.
Exactly.
That's so great.
And he suggested it. I had never been asked that by a man in my life. And at first my ego was like, what do you mean relationship? We're not in a relationship.
I don't even know you.
Right. But imagine if I were to hold back and say, well, I'm really scared of rejection, so I'm not going to do what I know in my heart I want to do, which is set a goal and a purpose for our relationship, because I have an ego too, and my ego would destroy the relationship by trying to make it into something which is not, meaning just entertainment or company or somebody to just, oh, well, you're cute, I'm cute, let's just see what happens. No. We already know what we want to happen. We want love. And with love, you need a purpose, because our default programming is fear.
Yes, that is so wise. I know you have a lot more in Love Is Not a Game, a manual for loving relationships. A lot more of these nuggets are in there, and that's so valuable. So thank you for sharing that with our audience. And that's not all you do, because Sexpert Tayomi, you're also giving advice on how to help people spice it up in the bedroom.
Yes.
So give us some tips. I've been married now 11 years in April. And
Woo-hoo, congratulations.
Thank you. But your relationship goes through phases. So I would like some tips. I'm sure some people at home would like some tips on ways to keep it fresh and spicy.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I'm working on my first book, and it's all about how to spice it up, because this is literally the most commonly asked question of any pleasure coach, sex therapist, sex educator is, how do we spice it up? And that question is extremely loaded, because there are so many ways you can answer it. But the basis of spicing it up is, number one, giving yourself the permission to play. Mm-hmm. When you're asking to spice it up, what you're really saying is, I want to have more fun with my sex life. I want to have more fun in the bedroom. So that's the first thing. If you're not laughing while you're intimate with your partner, if you're not smiling, if you don't feel a sense of innocence when you are connecting with your partner intimately, then you can start there. And one tool that I always suggest people use is a pleasure journal or an erotic journal, where you and your partner can write down your successes, your fears, what turns you on, what turns you off, just anything that has to do with your sensuality and your sex life, you put it in this journal. And so inside of this journal, you can write to your partner and say, I would like for us to experiment with X, Y, and Z, whatever it is you want to experiment with. And that can be a way for you to communicate. The second thing, this is our erotic journal.
Oh, nice. Wait, and let me just clarify. So you, Tayomi, will put a passage in it, and then you leave it by the bedside, and then Naeem comes over and he writes a response to that, and then a question, and it's like a dialogue between the two of you that's written?
Absolutely. It can be a dialogue either written in your journal, or once you read it, then I'll ask him, so what do you think? And we can discuss it back and forth. Instead of feeling like really awkward about saying something that you don't know how to say verbally to your partner, you can put it in the book. And in our way, it's like a kind of like a ritual that we do with the book. Once we're done writing in it, we throw it. We throw it on the bed, and hearing that plop, it's like, oh, okay, you've put something in here. Because if it's just sitting by the bed, we don't know if you've written in it or not. And it just makes it very easy to communicate with your partner what you feel you need to, spice it up and make it more interesting.
I love that. And I've never heard that. And I think that's such an important piece to be able to express what you want and need. And like you said, a lot of times people can't find the words, but maybe you can find it on paper. Maybe you can even draw it. I mean, you don't have to, if you don't have the verbal, the verbal ways to express it, maybe you could just kind of draw a picture. However, that's what I like doing with clients, is helping them find their method of expression. And sometimes it's a little different from person to person. When you were talking about finding play, I really like that. Actually, I will share a little story. I was doing some spring cleaning yesterday, and I found something that I had bought years ago that was like little scratchers of sexual ideas for your partner. And so, I got out the scratchers and gave one to my husband. I'll save you the rest of the story, y'all. Let's just say it worked, but it also helped us find that playfulness. What are some of the other elements that people can bring into the bedroom that may be missing if they're feeling like things are falling a little bit flat?
Share something. Well, I'd like to say foreplay. And to expand the definition of foreplay from before and after the bedroom, our foreplay is ongoing. It can be in a text message. It can be a note you drop in your partner's bag when they're going out. You can just call them and say, "Hey, I love you. You're beautiful," or whatever. And then that's it. That's the end of the conversation. But it's not something that, okay, now before we have sex, let's do foreplay. No, foreplay should be an ongoing thing that breathes in and out, and that it's always flowing, and that there's no attachment. You can say, "I want to do this, and this to you later," and it's no attachment to actually doing it. That's just what I'm thinking right now. So constantly being in that kind of dialogue.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't happen. I also have 2 kids, so sometimes things
the
get
stars do
interrupted.
not align.
Right, exactly. It's like, well, I had the intention of doing that to you, but our children had another idea.
And I want to add too, especially having children and having responsibilities as adults, you have to plan it out. You have to plan out your sex days. So, let's say you see in your schedule, you have a pocket of time on Saturday, or you can dedicate Saturdays as the days where you're going to be intimate with your partner, whatever intimacy looks like.
Sexy Saturdays. I like that.
Yes, sexy Saturdays or salacious Sundays, whatever. And mark it on your calendar. And that way, throughout the week, as he said, your foreplay is being extended because now you're looking forward to your Saturday or your Sunday or whatever day you plan. And you can plan ahead. So if you need to get a babysitter or somebody to watch the kids, you can do that. And you can put your do not disturb on your phone, let anybody know. If you have business responsibilities, you can put your away message on and say, "I'm spending time with my husband. I'm spending time with my wife." And, I know it doesn't appear to be sexy because we have been conditioned to believe that sex is supposed to happen spontaneously. But when you are an adult working in the real world and you're raising children and you're running a business, spontaneity kind of goes out of the window with sex. You have to plan. So don't shy away from that. And it's really sexy when you have a pending date to get it on.
Yeah. And I'm all about planning. I think creating the freedom through having focus is something that is applicable to singles and couples. Like, I'm always telling singles to plan their date nights and to plan how much time you're going to spend online or where you're going to go. Because if you don't plan it, then your life just keeps on moving, and then you realize, wait, it never happened the way that I wanted it to happen. And so I want to change gears a little bit and speak to some of the single people, and especially I'd like to speak to the women about really getting in touch with her sexuality. I'm sure you saw there's this ATL orgy that happened recently. There was one last year that the organizers were saying that it was about women getting in touch with their sexual freedom and sexual liberation. And I'm curious to know what your opinions are on ATL orgy and if you think it's really about sexual freedom for women or if there's something else at play.
Well, I think their intentions outwardly may be about sexual liberation for women, and I'm all for a good sex party. I just from what I researched and saw, it appears to me that it's more so about a profitable opportunity over actual sexual liberation, because the bottom line is sexual liberation is not simply about sexual promiscuity. It's about women feeling empowered enough to know that they have autonomy over their sexuality and they can choose to do whatever they want with it, whether it is have sex with multiple people at once or just continue to be monogamous and be reserved about her sexuality. But a woman knowing that she can flex her power at any time, that's true sexual liberation, and being unashamed and unafraid to express it. Orgies and sex parties, especially in a situation like this where it's being blasted, men are the ones that really respond to it. And the one last year, there was a disproportionate amount of men in comparison to women. And a woman walking in a situation like that, where the average person who's buying into the party is not an avid sex party goer, they don't know the rules of how to play. There are rules in how you play in sex parties. And yes, there are rules that I believe were posted at the party, but a person who has not been in that situation before, they really don't know how to act. And so you have these guys that have all their hormones raging and they have these expectations. And if you're one of the few women walking into a situation like that, it could feel like walking into a pack of wolves. So as a woman going into something like that, you have to be very aware of what your boundaries are and know the rules of play.
Can you give us some tips for women that are feeling a little bit sexually unexpressed and how they can achieve sexual liberation in a way that may be more healthy than this?
The very first thing that a woman can do is you don't have to do something as extreme as running to a sex party, all right? Especially if you are a vanilla person that's going to freak you out, you may be traumatized. The first thing you can do is grab a blank journal, consecrate that journal as your sex journal, and begin to decipher between the thoughts that the world or society has conditioned you to believe and your own thoughts about sexuality. There has to be an undoing of this deep psychological conditioning that has been placed on a woman's mind just through media and peer association, parental advisement, religious advisement. There's so many sources that we receive sexual information from, and a lot of it is damaging and dampening. So a woman needs to first go in and examine that stuff, pick apart the things that are actually suppressing her sexual freedom, and then write her own truths.
I love this. And
the only way a woman is truly going to be liberated is if she can connect with what sex means to her, what sexuality means to her.
Right, without judgment as well.
Exactly, without judgment. And this is why the journal is great, because that is a space just for you. No one else is going to read that. It's not for the world. It's simply for you to connect with self. And you're not going to connect with self by trying to connect with a bunch of bodies. You connect with self by going within and using simple tools, pen to paper, or you can do it through audio, but visually seeing it, pen to paper, and having it in a journal where you can go back and see your journey. That is how your liberation begins.
I love that. Well, I would like to liberate some of our listeners in our next segment. I love all the tips that you're giving, and we have questions that have come in, some about sex, some about relationships, and I'd love to get your expert opinions, Tayomi and Naeem, about the questions in Technically Dating.
Absolutely. We are here for it.
Technically
dating. Okay, this is from a female. She's 18. She says, me and this boy have been hanging out a lot, and just the other day we had sex. She says, but today I found out he got back together with his girlfriend, several emojis, angry emoji, sad emoji. Then she says, I feel so worthless and like he used me, but I still want to talk to him and we still Snapchat. What should I do? Naeem, you want to tackle this one?
I want to go back to the purpose. All right. So just know that you need a purpose for any relationship. Sounds like y'all have a strong attraction to each other. Just know that attraction is not enough in order to have a healthy relationship. You can be attracted to many people throughout the day. Doesn't mean that you're going to pursue a lifelong relationship or any kind of relationship with them. I mean, we're attracted to actors on the screen and artists and etc. So just try to separate the attraction from the actual love and connection that you're looking for. And usually we want to have both. Let me just be clear. Love is the same for everyone. So the same love you have for your brother, your sister, your pet, your family, it's the same love that you want to have in a romantic situation. But just know that you're not going to express the love the same way in a romantic situation, in a romantic relationship. But the love means appreciation. It means freedom. It means understanding. It means honesty. It means trust. It means telling the truth. It means remembering that you're innocent. And all of that means love. And you can have that with everyone. Sex, you're not going to have with everyone. But if you're going to have sex, make sure it's in love, meaning in innocence, in trust, in honesty, in truth, in communication, having communication. And so I would say the first thing that you can do, anyone in this situation can do, is find out what you really want in the relationship. And if it's not just, sexual fling or friends with benefits or whatever, let that be known. And let it be known as soon as possible.
But how about the fact that he has a girlfriend?
Way, whatever you want.
Yeah, how about the fact that he has a girlfriend? Like they had sex and then he was like, oh, okay, yeah, I just realized I would rather be with my girlfriend right now. Like, isn't there an element of understanding what someone else's feelings are and having to come to terms with, should she still be snapping this guy knowing that he has another girl that he's attached to, committed to?
Well, I mean, he has many women that he's attached to, and he may not be in a committed romantic relationship with them. And again, it goes back to her expectation. It's like, what did you expect from having sex with him? Did you think that you were going to be in a relationship all because you joined bodies? Did you ever really talk about the purpose of why you're joining together besides just having sex? So she's feeling disappointed right now because she had a silent expectation that was not expressed. And clearly she still likes the guy. I mean, there's no love lost. And that's the part that needs to be focused on, is just because this guy has a girlfriend does not mean there's anything wrong with you being friends. And just because you guys have sex does not mean there's anything wrong with you being friends and laughing and Snapchatting each other or whatever. And at this point, what she needs to do is really let it be known, what is it that you truly want from this guy? If it is to be in some type of romantic relationship with him, then let it be known. And if he's like, oh, I have a girlfriend, I can't do that, then at that point, if the friendship, if just kicking it and being happy is not what you want, and if you don't want to be a side piece, then you might want to just separate and cease the communication, because all you're going to be doing at that point is attacking yourself and hurting yourself with that relationship, because you have disdain for the fact that he's used his autonomy to do what he wants with his body and with his relationships.
Great advice from both of you. Okay, I'm going to move on to a different tone of a question. This is from a female. She's 21. She says, would anyone get weirded out if they had sex in front of their cats or dog? See, my boyfriend wanted to have sex with my dog in the room, and I don't want him to be in the room while doing it. What should I do, Damona? Tayomi?
This
Is it weird?
This question is so funny to me because we always say we have a threesome with our cat because, literally, listen, this man knocks on the door, pushes the door open.
This man meaning your cat, man.
Yes, our cat.
Okay.
He's a man.
Clarifying.
And he prances in, and we're in the middle of sex, and he loves to just jump on the bed and sit on top of both of us at the same time. And we're like, come on. But if you feel weirded out about the dog being in the room, just put him out. And if your boyfriend like is so adamant about the dog being in the room, maybe he's into bestiality or something. I don't know. Maybe he wants a voyeur there. If he feels like he needs a source of something to be watching, maybe put on a movie with dogs or put on a video with dogs. But I mean, if it's a deal breaker for him that the dog be in the room for sex to happen, maybe you just not do it at all.
Right?
This all comes
weird.
down to making it okay either way.
Yeah.
For both of you. Like, if it's not okay either way, then that dog is just being used to cause separation, and that's what you really want to look at.
Right.
So it's okay if the dog's there, it's okay if it's not, because you're giving the dog all the meaning it has. The dog's probably just looking for a treat. It does like, what are y'all doing? The dog doesn't care, you know.
I feel like my dog looks at us. I feel like it's just waiting. It's entertaining itself and waiting. I have a very horny dog too. It humps my children all the time. Like, it'll get excited when it's playing fetch, and then all of a sudden it's like humping somebody. She digs in there with her little dog elbows, and it gets very uncomfortable. So we just let the dog stay. But I would go back to the why. Why is it so important for you to have that dog in the room? Because I mean, I could take her or leave her, but I can ignore that she's there. I don't need her to be there. That's
Exactly.
a whole different thing.
It really does boil down to the why. Because I mean, again, it's like if you're into bestiality, that's a whole other thing, my friend. And
You should know that now before you get in too deep, right?
yeah.
Okay, so here's another question that comes to us from a lady. She says, I've been sleeping with a guy on and off for a year. Amazing sexual chemistry, simultaneous orgasms and all. However, I am extremely attached to him, and I have a lot of feelings for him. But for him, he views it as just sex. Just another hole. I'm not going to, we're going to keep it clean today, but you use your imaginations, y'all. When I'm with him, I feel so alive, but afterwards he's always on my mind, and I've tried to walk away from the situation many times, but just ended up depressed and crying. My heart physically aches when I think about life without him. What can we tell this lady who's feeling stuck in this relationship? She has different expectations. We've been talking about that a lot. It seems like maybe she thought she could just have sex with him, but she developed feelings. Sometimes those hormones get involved. Is there any way for her to roll it back or to change the trajectory of the relationship?
So while Naeem is thumbing through Love Is Not a Game for the specific answer to this, I'm going to add my piece, and I'm going to say that you're at an impasse, my sister. And at this point, you need to have the conversation with him and say exactly what it is that you want to say. I love you. I want this to be more than just sex, and it's okay. I mean, it has to be okay either way. But if it's not okay either way, she has to be prepared to walk away from that situation, because all she's doing at this point is attacking herself using this relationship. This man has said what he wanted it to be, nothing more, nothing less. She's sitting over here with these silent expectations and feelings and painting her own heart because she's not expressing what it is she truly wants. So
I'm going to read one short section in the book that's specifically talking about this, which she's feeling is a strong physical, chemical attraction, which is outside of your control. Like, you do not have a power to control who you're attracted to, but you do have a power to how you're going to use that attraction. So this is a chapter in attraction. So it says, what is attraction for? Joining in love. Would you like to read with me, my love?
Yes.
You cannot help who you are attracted to, but you can help your programming.
Attraction is not love, although you can use your attraction to each other to join in love. Your attraction to your partner is just icing on the cake.
The program, or fear in separation, would use your attraction to sabotage you. Love would use your attraction to heal you.
You cannot change the fact that you will experience attraction. That's like trying to change your genetic makeup. You can pretend you don't experience attraction, but attraction is natural. You cannot fight nature and win. So don't. Just don't.
What you want to remember is this.
The sensation of attraction and being turned on by someone is just a sensation. It doesn't mean anything. You decide what you will do with it.
Will you use your attraction to stimulate your desire to get, or will you use your attraction to join in love?
If you are attracted to each other, that means you already want to join. So why not use that joining to love each other?
Oh, that was so beautiful.
Well coordinated.
Yes, y'all should take this show on the road.
Yeah.
No, that was not
I
pre-planned.
know,
Just
so
an answer
spontaneous.
to a question.
But I will say it's obvious the connection between the two of you, and the fact that you could just riff off of each other just on the fly right there shows how connected you two truly are. And I'm so jazzed to have you guys on the show. Before I let you go, there was one more article I wanted to talk about. The Root had a piece on asking the question, do you subscribe to traditional gender roles in dating? And I really wanted to get your opinion on the questions that this article raised before you go. So there were 3 questions, and I'd like to get insights from both of you, Tayomi and Naeem. Who pays on a date? What do you think? In today's modern world, I'm all about modern love. Do you think, like, let's say on a first date, should the man still pay, or are we in a different time today?
Well, I'm going to tell you, our first date, I paid. And it's because I wanted to. And really, we give these things all the meaning they have. You know, if you want to treat the person that you love and you care about to a great night out, drinks or whatever, why not? Why sit here and allow ego? Because that's all it is. Why allow ego and social conditioning to control your pockets? You have control over your pockets. So, and most of the time, I'm like treating us to dates because I'm the one that's like, I keep up with our, I guess like social entertainment, right?
Yes.
So
You're the coordinator. Yeah. You're the
Yep,
the activities coordinator of the.
Yeah, she
the
deals with our social life and whatnot. And so she actually, before we were technically married, and said, oh, I'd like to treat you to a date. I'd like to take you out on a date. She asked me, said, yes, I'd like to go on a date with you. And so that's how it started with our official date, although we've been together for some time before that.
I love your answer, and I'd love to get your insight on the second question. Is it acceptable for a woman to be the breadwinner in the relationship?
Acceptable to who? Like, you know, it's you're talking about every individual's answer to that, and we're just going to tell you the truth because our opinions don't matter. But the truth is, you give breadwinning and money all the meaning it has. It doesn't mean anything because people use money to liberate and people use money to imprison. So if you're going to say that, oh, well, only the man or the woman or both have to be the breadwinner, then you're putting limitations on your relationship and you're going to experience pain and hurt yourself through that. So for us in love, it doesn't matter. Love says that you're provided and sustained no matter what, no matter who. If you see each other as the same, then that means we're equal. That means my money is your money is my money. It's no difference in that. So
I have a feeling I know your answer to this third question. Is it okay for a woman to propose?
Absolutely. I mean, remember we
I knew.
about,
I can see that one coming.
we talked about going after what you want and being sincere and honest about what you want. So if you, like the last woman that said, I can't imagine my life without him, then why not tell him that?
Yeah.
And if you want to live your life with a man, why not propose that you two join and become one? Because see, it's our perception of what marriage means that really skews people's perception of it being okay for a woman to ask for a man's hand in marriage, because it's this idea that men pursue women and that the woman is the prize and that he has to do all these things to get her affection, and then the end result is presenting her with this ring and, you know, then living your life together. But really, marriage is about joining forces, joining your energy and walking your paths parallel to each other and combining your resources for the greater good. It's really about love. So if it's about love, then how come a loving woman cannot propose to a loving man that she wants to live her life with him and join forces to become greater?
I'm
There's no wrong.
in agreement with you. I love your perspective, and I think you passed the Roots test of not subscribing to traditional gender roles. I don't either. I'm in agreement with you, and I love all the advice that you've shared on today's show. I know you have a lot more to share at sexperttyomi.com, as well as on Twitter at glamazonTyomi, and Tyomi is spelled Tyomi. And people can pick up a copy of Love Is Not a Game, a manual for loving relationships on Amazon. And I hope you will come back to the show. I personally have learned so much from the two of you, and I love seeing you two together, and the bond that you two share is really something that we should all aspire to. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Damona. This was great.
Thank you. Gals, do you feel like dating is frustrating today for women? Men, do you feel like dating is frustrating today for you guys? Well, that's why we have the Dates and Mates podcast. So let me know why you think dating is tough today in the comments below on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And I'm at Damona Hoffman on all of those social media sites, but you can also leave your comments on iTunes when you leave us a review. Don't forget to get your 30-day risk-free membership to Beachbody On Demand. You can click the banner at datesandmates.com or the link in the show notes. And download the Texpert app to get your advice and to post your questions for a future Dates and Mates show. We'll see you again next week. And until then, happy dating.